Hey, what's up out there, everybody? David Cravens from the Relentless Hope podcast with the special edition that we're going to be doing at least one a month, maybe more. I've got my favorite jeweler here, Christian from Duncans Diamonds. And when you think diamonds, there's only one name you should be thinking, and that's Duncans Diamonds. There's many locations. They got previously owned Rolexes, every kind of jewelry you need. So check them out. So what's up, Christian?
How you doing, sir?
Doing good, buddy. How you
Good.
been, man?
Hanging in there.
It's been a while. I've been trying to rope you
I
in
know.
here for a while, man.
I know.
You've been on the go.
Been on the move.
What's
yeah.
some things you've been doing?
Past couple months, been a lot of traveling. I went to Miami, did a jewelry show over there. Then I went to Vegas, did another jewelry show over there. I actually just got back in town from one of my closest friends' weddings. So,
right. Well, the jewelry guy's got to be at the wedding. You know
exactly,
what I mean?
exactly.
You know.
Yep. So, been a lot.
Lot going on.
But always good. You know, it keeps me busy and,
Yeah.
Get to do new things, which is always a good thing.
Yep.
So.
And it's keeping you knowing what's going on with the latest jewelry trends.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Since we've forged our friendship,
Mhm.
which started out over a pool table,
Yeah.
because you
Yes, it
had
did.
us
Yep.
bring a pool table in, which was, I've never seen nobody do it for a
Yep.
men's
Yeah.
night, bring a pool table in. That was awesome. And then we kind of forged. You came on the podcast. We had good chemistry.
Yep.
You guys at the store over there at this Stero Duncans Diamonds are always good to me if I see them in public
Mhm.
or in the store. So, if you're looking to get treated like family, Duncans Diamonds, and of course I'm partial to the Estero one over there, you know what I mean, to go. But, so you've been on the go, which what I did was start kind of paying attention to jewelry
Mhm.
because Duncans Diamonds is now, sponsors Relentless Hope podcast, which our whole thing is about families.
Yep.
You can't mention families without jewelry,
Absolutely. Yep.
and heirlooms and everything. So it all kind of goes hand in hand. But since we started, forging our relationship, and then you and I personally,
Yeah.
texting, talking and all that, I started watching stuff with jewelry and like, hey, what can we do to make this segment?
Yep.
And there's really a big thing for jewelry out there.
It's pretty
on
cool.
YouTube.
It's pretty cool.
It-
Yeah.
It's a whole different. And I'm not just
Yeah.
talking about robbing jewelry stores. You know
Yeah.
what I'm talking
Yeah.
about? I'm talking about
Yeah.
it's a whole game in itself.
Absolutely.
Of course, we know the rappers and Jacob the jeweler, all these guys. But what I love about Duncans Diamonds and something you said, and every person that I've talked to that's on the staff and been in the store, owners, whoever,
Mhm.
is they really treat you like family. When you're in Duncans Diamonds, when I've been in there, they treat you like family. Doesn't matter if you're looking for a high price watch or you're looking for a charm, whatever it is, you guys treat people good.
Yep.
I mean, you really do, though. And that's
Mhm.
something you said from the very beginning. When somebody comes in, tell me a little bit about that. When somebody comes in, no matter what the jewelry is, how do you treat them? Like when,
Well, and I mean, you said it just now. It's not about what they're getting.
Mhm.
It's about the meaning behind what they're getting,
Right.
why they're getting it. You don't want to ever just be a salesperson.
Yeah.
I never want people to walk out like, oh, he was just a sleazy sales guy.
Yeah.
I want them when they walk out with, a smile on their face, like, oh my God, that was the best service I've ever
Yeah.
had, and not looking at me like a salesperson, but looking at me like a friend.
Right.
They might not consider me family. That's a stretch,
Right.
but treating me like a friend, how I'm going to treat them.
Mhm.
That's important to me. And it's important to everybody in the
Right.
company, because we're not just salespeople.
No.
We're not just there to do that. We're there to be a family.
Yeah.
We're there to be a part of the next 20 years of your life. We don't want to, you to buy one piece from us, walk out and be like, oh, that was the worst experience ever.
Right.
We want you to come back and share all these moments, because jewelry is it's one of the most special, pieces of anything that anybody can ever receive. So we want that to be special. We want people to come back and, show us pictures of the wedding, show us pictures of, your mom being so excited. And,
When she got it. Yeah,
exactly.
or whatever
So,
the case is.
exactly.
Which
So,
that brought me to, I came up with some questions here.
mhm.
I didn't want our segment to be boring,
Yeah.
but you're going to know more about jewelry than me.
Mhm.
And, the main thing is about the Relentless Hope podcast and about Duncans Diamonds is we're about legacy. I'm about trying to leave a legacy for my family. My son-in-law soon to be, and my daughter's going to be getting married, which he's going to be coming.
Yep.
And that's going to be start a legacy, the ring that he gets her,
Mhm.
or the ring, you know what I mean, to go on, whatever the case may be. So, what's been motivating you lately as, not getting caught up in the regular salesman jewelry
Mhm.
to keep doing it and keep pushing the legacy of jewelry?
Well, I think, with me, you know, at my age, I am younger, you know, and I think that there's always going to be something for me to learn. It's like anybody, you know, that's trying to perfect their craft.
Right.
You're always going to be learning stuff. And I think that's the coolest thing is like getting to go and do all these things. It's just pushing me and motivating me more to want to do it better, continue to learn things. You know, I got to see all these different jewelers that are, you know, vendors that are coming out with all these new things. And it's like, man, why didn't I think of that? And, you know, it's just pushing me to
it
want
pushes
to
your
do
creativity.
better. Exactly.
I'm the same
It's,
thing,
you know,
with podcasts or whatever.
Yep.
When you get in, you got to be around people that you want to be like, or
Exactly.
whatever you're into.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That pushes you to be better. Like, you
Exactly.
don't want to be a jeweler going, and nothing against anybody that works at McDonald's, but you don't want to be going over to the latest fry show.
Yes.
And you go,
Yep.
oh, why didn't I think of seasoning like that, right? You want to be like,
Yep.
hey, man, what can I do to push Duncans Diamonds to the next level?
Exactly.
And I believe you're doing that.
Yep.
I believe, you know, you're, and we were talking to one of the nice ladies that works with you when I was at the hockey game, and which Duncans Diamonds hooked me up with some awesome tickets. Thank you for that in the playoffs. And I went the next night again. I had to go. Yeah. We love Everblades, you know what I mean? The Duncans Diamonds power play, you know.
Yes, sir.
Big hockey fans, what better than Duncans Diamonds to go? But you know, she kind of made a statement about, she said, you know, I believe he's a young, fresh face that's, you know, got some great ideals and you know, behind him. So man, pat yourself on the back for that. You know what I mean? You're doing good, and I commend you to, you know, not everybody wants to come on a podcast and talk, or that's not their wheelhouse. And I just like to hear myself talk, so I go on there, you know. So here's a deep question that we kind of came up with, and my wife kind of put it into. What's the most powerful moment you've seen where jewelry helped tell someone's story? When they came in and maybe bought a piece from you or whatever. Anything.
You know, I think for me, it was just this past weekend.
Really?
With my buddy's wedding. Because I got to see it firsthand.
Right.
You know, I got them the rings. It was just a surreal moment to see them put it on their fingers, you know, to see all the love in the air with the families, not just them, but everyone surrounding. I think that was the moment. You know, obviously I've had moments where people are in the store and it's, you know, it's awesome. They come back, they show me the pictures. They, you know, we have a great rapport, but like getting to see it firsthand and be a part of it with somebody who I've known him since I was 5 years old. We grew up playing basketball together, you know, so it's like, but seeing him marry the girl that he loves right in front of my face, putting those rings on his finger, his and hers finger, that was when it really was like, wow.
Starting a legacy.
You know, it was, exactly. And it's just, it's a surreal moment, you know, and I was like, I got to be a part of that, like firsthand.
From start to finish, you know what I mean? That's
Yep.
awesome, bro. That's good.
Yep.
All right, so you see folks celebrate milestones like that all the time, right? What do you think? You know, you see people coming in, maybe buying an engagement ring, maybe buying their father or first time they can afford a Rolex. That's a big deal, right?
Absolutely,
you know what I mean?
yes.
You know, for me, like my jewelry that I got on is very important to me. It's not the highest price, but it's went in steps. And my wife tries to take care of me and my kids. But you know, my kids got me the watch. My wife got me the ring. You know, my hat says Grandpa Club. My older kids got me that because my granddaughter's going to be born. That's all stuff that is legacy to me. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And that comes back to the whole jewelry is leaving a legacy.
Yep.
So you get to see people do the milestones. What makes jewelry such a part of the process, do you think?
I think it's, you know, it's the sentimental part of it, you know, the aspect of the fact that you're giving it to somebody that you care about, you love, you know. Obviously it's not, it can be pricey. Right. So that's another part of it. But I think more than that, it's just that you can have that for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. I see people that come in, you know, and they have a piece and they literally tell me, they're like, oh, this is a ring for my grandma and or my great great grandma that's 150 years old. You really can't do that with anything else besides jewelry. No car's going to last 150 years.
They might try to rebuild it or we had it, but you don't see them that old.
You know, and I think that's the coolest part about jewelry. Now, you know, that's why I have what I have. And like, I never will take these bracelets off.
You told me
you know, that my mom got them for me and I'll never take them off. My dad got me this pendant.
You always have it on. I've never seen you without either.
And it's like, I know that I'll be able to pass it down. You know, my watch that I have on, I'll pass that down. And I think that that's the coolest part about jewelry is that it's never going to change. It's going to look the exact same. It's going to work the exact same. And it'll last forever. You know, it's going to last my lifetime. It's going to last 3 lifetimes from me. You know,
unless you buy it on Amazon. and it's cheap, and it turns your neck green. You might not. That's why you need to get to Duncans Diamonds. I've been down that road before too, and it doesn't last long. You know what I mean?
Oh no, it's funny you say that because I actually did that way before I was in the jewelry industry. I played basketball and everything, so I wanted to have the cool chains.
We all did.
It was a quick turning green, and I was like, I'm not doing this again.
or something. We were on the live today, and Tim asked you, how many times people come in, and you got to break it to them that they got fake.
Yeah.
Can you think of a time that you did that?
Yes.
Has anybody ever got upset with you?
No. Well,
like, man, this is real. I know it's real.
Off the bat,
my homeboy gave it to me, or whatever.
Off the bat, like right off the bat, when I tell them, and I, like I said, I always try to go into detail with them because just telling somebody it's fake, that's never a good enough answer, and they're like, oh, they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, he don't know. What's that kid know? He's got a nice haircut. He don't know. I'm a gangster.
So
right?
I always compare whatever the piece may be side by side with something that is real,
is the real
to
deal.
show them, hey, here's the differences. Let's go over them together so you understand what to see. Next time. I had an incident. It was a Rolex, and it was, at the time, it was about a $30,000 Rolex.
Right.
The guy came in, and this was a long, long time ago, but he came in and he was like, oh, I got a steal on it. I got it for 20 grand. And I'm like, something's not right. So I look at it, we open it up, it looked a little bit shaky to me right off the bat, but it was a good one. It was it was a good fake.
Yeah.
You opened up the watch and the movement was completely replaced with something fake.
Right.
So it's one of those things where, although it can look phenomenal on the outside, I had to break it down to him, and I showed him, obviously, you got to show him right there. And so he doesn't think you're lying.
So he ain't think you're trying to, I'll buy it from you for $5 though.
Yeah. But no, it's crazy to see those things, and it happens more often than people think.
Man.
Probably once a week have somebody come in and, I want to sell this ring or, this chain or whatever. And I'm like, well.
Sorry, brother. Yeah. Well, we live in a land of fakes.
Yes.
And when I say that, they're called reels, but half of them ain't real. You know what I mean? Like our filters, pictures. Yes. You know what I mean? Like, whoa, right, you know what I mean? So same thing with shoes, jewelry. There's some good fakes in Jordans out there, bro. You know what I mean? Where you can't tell. You know what I mean? And same thing with watches. I've seen. People be like, man, I paid $8 grand. I'm like, oh, buddy, I'm not a jeweler. Now I can be like, go see my jeweler because he'll tell you.
Yeah.
But that's true. That's why it's so good. All right. So how about this? Let's talk. What makes Duncans Diamonds different from the other guys? Now, I know, not to cut you off before you get going, but I know when I moved to Southwest Florida, right? I went by Duncans Diamonds all the time, right? On 41. And then I'm a big hockey guy. You know what I mean? So I got hockey. And I seen the commercials. So anytime I've had people ask me, and this is before I ever knew you. I mean, this is years ago. Hey, man, what jewelry store? I'm like, Duncans Diamonds, bro. It's the only one around. That's because that's, what I heard them. But really, the more I get to know you and being in there and doing business with you, it really is like the diamond store, jewelry store around here. And definitely, I imagine anywhere else they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But to you, firsthand in the operation, what makes them different?
I think it's everything we've been talking about.
Yeah.
I think that at the end of the day, we separate ourselves, or at least we try to. I can't speak for everyone, and I don't want to say that.
Yeah,
but
right.
What we do in our store, what we do in all of our stores is treat everybody the same. You never want to be the sleazy salesperson. Right. You never want to come across that way. If somebody comes in with an issue, they might be really, really frustrated at whatever it, could have been not our fault or not our, piece of jewelry. Right. But if they come in, our job is to understand, not just to act like we're understanding them, to actually truly understand, put yourself in their shoes. And you do that with anything, whether it's an issue that, we need to fix or whether it's just understanding why they're here.
Right.
I think that's the most important part that other places, and I can't speak for everyone, but I think other places that I've seen, that's where they lack.
Right.
Is not understanding. They just want to sell a piece of jewelry.
Yeah, it's quick turn. It's quick turn.
Exactly. Whereas I want to understand why they're frustrated, why they're happy, why they're sad.
Right.
What is it that's going on in their lives that makes this so special and important?
That's good.
And I think that's, where we stand out.
Kind of makes me think of the word empathy.
Yep.
If empathy is, putting yourself in their position, and that's good, man. That's true. Every person that I've been around, I'm not saying that there ain't people that have bad days at Duncans Diamonds
Yeah.
because people might hop on. Well, I went in Duncans Diamonds, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Even Michael Jordan missed a dunk. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
you can't always, but you also know. I mean, there's car lots that sometimes might not be the cheapest or not,
Mhm.
but I go back to that place for a reason because they took care of me.
Yep.
I knew that they knew my need. They took time to understand, to get to know me. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it's the same thing with you guys. You said that you want people to come back and buy their engagement ring, their wedding ring, and then you want them to come back when they're buying their 5-year anniversary ring and
Yep.
and their Mother's Day
Yep.
and their daughters, and you know what I mean, or whatever the case
Exactly.
may
You know,
be,
I
your
want
fathers
I
or
want their
whatever.
kids to come back because they trust us. You know,
And there's a
it's
word we keep saying, and it's legacy.
Yep.
That's what I believe Duncan's Diamonds is. It's a jewelry store of legacy.
Yep.
I mean, like I said, man, I'm a guy who I like to say self-taught. Like if I get into something, I start watching and reading up on it or
Yep.
going on the website and looking. And
Yep.
I've talked, to some of the marketing, always treat me like, hey, we're so
Mhm.
excited. You know what I mean? Don't,
Yep.
it's just they're good people. And I would have no problem sending anybody there to go buy something. And no, of course you personally are gonna take care of, but anybody, because
Yes.
that's the code. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
Yep.
All right. So here's it winding up here. If someone walked in today,
Mhm.
okay, they came into Gulf Coast over there, and what piece of jewelry, and they came up to you and they're like, look, man, I got bands, right? I got some money to spend, or I'm looking, I'm going to upgrade. What piece would you show them? What would be Christian's,
So it really depends if it's a gentleman.
Okay, let's
and-
go. Yeah, we'll do both. We'll do
Okay.
male and female. A
So I
gentleman
was gonna
comes
say,
in.
if it's a gentleman that walks in and he's like, "Hey, look, I'm looking for a piece for myself. I don't care what it is. You show me
Right.
what you like." Honestly, I'm gonna walk him over to Rolex. And the reason I say that is not because it's Rolex.
Right.
It's because it is one piece of jewelry that's never going to lose value
No.
ever.
It's
People,
gonna be there.
people. I'm sure people hear it all the time, but
Mhm.
it is the truth.
Mhm.
You will never lose your value on a
Yeah.
Rolex. It's not like other pieces of jewelry where it's more of a sentimental thing.
Mhm.
Rolex is Rolex, and
Yeah.
it is still sentimental. It's your first or even if it's
first
not your
Rolex,
first
yeah,
Rolex,
whatever, yeah.
it's never going to lose value.
Yeah.
I would never sell something to somebody that I don't fully believe in. Now,
Mhm.
I believe in everything we have,
Right.
but if there's something he's like, I got 10 grand,
Right.
I want to spend it on something
Right,
that,
right.
whatever you
Whatever.
choose, I'm going to bring him to Rolex. And
Yeah.
honestly, the same thing for ladies. It depends on what she says or he says,
Right.
if he's looking for a chain, obviously I'm not going to be like,
Right.
screw that.
You're
go
like,
to
hey, bro, you need a Rolex.
Yeah.
You don't need a rope.
But it's, I would bring a male or female right over to Rolex,
and get
because
them going.
I know for a fact that they're going to be happy 10 years down the road when it's worth the same amount of money
Yeah.
that they paid.
Whether they keep it or sell it, right? They're going to
Exactly.
come out ahead.
So it's
Okay, what about if a guy comes in looking for an engagement ring?
mhm.
Max. No, I'm just kidding. My son-in-law. No, but when a guy comes in,
Um,
Eduardo, D Money on the controls. Okay.
Well, I mean, and that's kind of, again, where everything we've talked about, I get to know them. I
Mhm.
don't just ask the generic basic questions. I
Right.
get to know them. I get to know, when are they getting married? What,
Mhm.
how long have they been together?
How's this
What's-
looking, right?
Yeah, and I normally
All right.
don't do that.
You go, hey, bro, how you look? You got any money or you broke? Because over here
But
or over here?
I always, I see what they like,
Yeah.
what they like, what they don't like. I normally just start very generic in a sense. I walk him over to one case and I sit down, I show him a ring. If he's like, absolutely not,
Mm.
scratch that. We're
Mm,
on to
go
the
to the
next,
next one, yeah.
and we get to know each other. It's
Yeah.
more about building a relationship and understanding what she's going to like,
Right.
because he might not know in full.
No.
I've been there.
Right.
I've worked, in the industry for a long
You've been
time. So
doing
I
it, yeah.
know, and if they show me pictures of stuff, that's a huge thing now
Yeah,
too.
no,
Pinterest is like
she said
every
like
girl's
this.
best friend.
She said this. Well, yeah. I mean, it helps
So,
you though.
absolutely.
Makes your job. It takes out all the guesswork. a lot
Exactly.
of times.
But no, I think it's more just getting to know them, narrowing down exactly what it is. And one of my favorite things is custom. I actually enjoy drawing out rings
Really?
and things like that.
That's
So
cool. Now that's something I didn't know. That's
Yeah.
cool. So,
yeah.
so you can just draw them out.
Yep.
You heard it here on the Relentless Hope podcast,
Yep.
the Jeweler Edition. You need something drawn out, you better go see my boy over there at Gulf
Yes,
Coast.
sir. Yep. No, I enjoy doing that, drawing out a ring and obviously it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to look exactly how the ring's going to look,
Right, right.
but it gives them a baseline,
That's
of
cool.
ideas that are floating in their head that they can't quite put into words.
Yeah.
I try to pick up on it and piece it together
Wow.
and say, hey,
There you
here's
go.
what I'm thinking.
That's pretty cool.
know,
Now, do
so-
a lot of jewelry stores do that? A lot of jewelers?
I can't speak for everyone.
Right.
We do it all day long, and I
Really?
love it. It is one of my favorite things.
Now,
Custom.
now, have you been an artist before, or you used to draw when you was young? Or?
I used when I was young. I picked it back up in this industry
Yeah.
because of the fact that it's useful.
Yeah.
But I used to do it all the time when I was a
Yeah.
kid. But it helps. And it's not just rings.
You can do
necklaces, whatever you can think of. If there's something that you want
cool.
specific to your needs, or if it's like different stones or
Right,
whatever,
right, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I can do it.
Do people still buy gold ropes? Are they still popular?
I'm wearing one right now.
Well, yeah, well, you are. I know. Well, that's in there. And I usually wear one too, but I broke my clasp, which I need to bring it to you.
Come see me.
But
yeah, no, absolutely.
Because it's my head's fat and I'm trying to get around. And John, I couldn't put it on that day. See, without her, I'm lost, guys. She's not here with me. I'm lost. But are they still? Because back in my day, I'm a little bit older than you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 51 years old. So back in my day was like the gold ropes, the big chains, and everything. So I still stay. Yep. There's been John was like, I'll buy you this. I'm like, nah, I just stay with. I like it just a regular, not a super big gold rope, but just real and keep it. Yeah. Do people still come in and buy them quite a bit, or?
Yeah, I think it really depends on what they're looking for. If they're looking for something to put a pendant on, it's the one that I always recommend. I think it looks the best. There's all kinds of different chains now, though. I mean, the Cubans are definitely a big one now too, especially in this area.
That's what
wants
I mean.
The thick Cuban links, but I love the rope chain personally.
Me too. I think they look good.
They do.
They can look classy too if you wear them the right. I think sometimes the big Cubans, those can be too gaudy at certain things. Like the rope you're wearing, you can wear that to dinner. You can wear that when you're hanging with your boys.
Exactly.
Whatever you're doing, you know what I mean? It looks good.
Yep. But no, I mean, there is definitely a point when the Cuban links are too big, but that's all just because it's a statement.
Yeah.
They're making a statement with that kind of stuff.
Same thing with Rolex. A lot of the people that buy them, they got this many. Don't get me wrong. We're all about jewelry and we want nice watches, but somebody owns 30 and they paid this, and that, it's like, I get the status symbol, but I'm more about, like your bracelets being passed down and that, or, getting something that I could pass down to my son, my grandson, so on and so forth. You know what I mean? Like, my father-in-law passed away, was one of my best friends. And my wife's got jewelry that was his. That's a big deal.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? That's a big deal. Yep. I'm wearing an onyx ring because I never see my dad without an onyx ring. Yes. You see what I'm saying? Yep. Which I want to pass to Jackson, Elijah, so on, whatever, Ever how they divvy it up when I'm gone. You know what I mean? Whatever happens, whoever wins the fight for the jewelry. But that's why we wanted to hop on here. This is going to be a regular thing, so all our subscribers get used to seeing his face. A lot of people have been hitting us up on social. They're like, "Oh man, I see you're always sharing Duncans Diamonds." Yeah. I'm like, "Yeah, man, they're dear to us. They took a risk on us and kind of jumped in together to do this, go to the next level, and getting good traction." Our people are watching in the videos, and like I said, I've had people call and ask, "Hey man, I'm thinking about them." Like, go, nothing personal to the other Duncans Diamonds. If it's in your area, you're another part of Florida or Ohio or wherever the store is, you can check the website. There's links below. Also, any of our other podcasts that are on our page, there's Duncans Diamonds links there as one of our, you can click on it and go to them or reach out. We'll get you. But, if you're here local and you're ready to go to the next step or you're looking for a new piece, obviously, I'm going to tell them to go see my boy and, don't drive past them or maybe drive past them, whatever the case may be. But really, if you're ready, we stand behind it 100%. That I know just every conversation I've had, and this is before we were friends, you know what I mean? I mean, we're friends now and talking. From our first conversation on to being in the store, every person there, it's just legacy is the word I keep thinking. If you want to start leaving a legacy, there's no better way than getting some good jewelry.
100%.
And knowing what you're getting.
Exactly.
It's not like they're going to come in and then take your jewelry somewhere else later and be like, this guy bamboozled me. Yeah. Has anybody ever accused you of that? No. Never? No. That's because it's real. You know what I mean? But it's like nowadays, you never know what people try to say.
Absolutely.
Well, we're going to sign off. What do you want to tell the people before we go, Christian? Anything you need to announce? This is going to be probably released tomorrow, soon.
The only thing I can think of is that one of our locations on Cleveland Avenue, it's in Fort Myers, they are having an event tomorrow from 10 to 5. So if you're in the area, it's going to be a bridal show. So if you're looking for something for that special someone, they will have it. And that's about it.
And we're signing off. All the links below. If you're ready to make that next step, maybe a wedding ring, engagement ring, anniversary ring, a chain, a locket, Duncans Diamonds. There's only one name when you think of fine jewelry, and that's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Thank you.
Hey, thank you.